Sarah with the Volusia County Public Library System, coming to you from the Ormond Beach Regional Library. And on this episode of Volusia Gets Crafty, we're going to continue on with part 2 of our Crochet Bunny Garland. So on today's episode, we're going to do the second ear of the bunny. We're also going to do an edging that goes around the outside of the motif. We're going to create the pom-pom tail, and then I'm going to show you how to attach it to the garland. So if you want to look in the description box below, you can find out where you can get a free copy of the pattern so you can follow along with me. I also want to encourage you to stop by one of our branches, check out our selection of crochet books, or you can visit us online at volusialibrary.org. So whenever you're ready, why don't you grab a hook and some yarn, and let's hop to it. Okay, so we're going to start part 2 of our bunny garland. We're going to add on our second ear because he looks kind of lopsided, doesn't he? We're gonna pick up where we left off. So you can see where you attached your ear. There's stitches still remaining, right? So we're going to skip 2 of them, and into the next one, we're going to hook on our yarn. Now you can keep the same color, or if you want him to look kind of cute, you could change it up. You could have a different colored ear, who knows? Chain up 1, and into that same stitch, you're going to put another single crochet. And then into the next stitch, you're going to put another single crochet. So there's 2 single crochets for row 1 of the second ear. Chain up 1 and turn your work. Then you're going to put 2 single crochets in this first stitch. So the one right next to where you chained up. You're going to go right in there and put 2 single crochets in the same space and put 1 in the single crochet right next to it. So there's 3 single crochets. That sound familiar? That's what we had over here, right? So that was row 2 of the second ear. Chain 1 and turn your work. And it's just like the other one for rows 3 through 6. You're just going to do the 3 single crochets back and forth so that you make your ear taller. So this is row 3. We're going to do 1, 2, 3 single crochets, chain 1 and turn. Row 4, 1, 2, 3 single crochets, chain 1 and turn. Row 5, 1, 2, 3 single crochets, chain 1 and turn. Row 6, 1, 2, and 3 single crochets. Chain 1 and turn. So now for row 7, we're going to skip the very first stitch and put 3 half double crochets in the second stitch. There's 1, 2, 3 half double crochets, and then you're going to slip stitch into the last stitch there. You're going to chain 1 and fasten off. All right, so I'll let you weave in that end, and we will pick up in just a second with the edging. All right, so now we're ready to get started on the edging, and that's just gonna, for the body, it doesn't really make a difference, but it will smooth out the head and the ears quite a bit. So what you're gonna do is look for where the head turns into the body, and look for the very first stitch of the body. You're gonna get into the back loop of that stitch and attach your yarn. And you're gonna chain 1. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna slip stitch all the way around. So you're gonna go into the next back loop of the next stitch, the back loop only, pull through and pull through. And you're gonna do that into the back loops of all the stitches of the body. And then I'll pick up with you when we get here because it's a little bit different. The stitches aren't so noticeable. But the key with your slip stitching, guys, is to keep it nice and loose. I find it's easy to have a tendency to pull slip stitches really tight, and that can make your work buckle a little bit. So as you're going along, just keep a nice loose hand, pull through and pull through in the back loops of all the stitches. And I'll meet you when we get to the head to show you how to do that. Okay, so I'm about to enter into the head region. I wanted to mention too, make sure the right side of your project is facing so you can see the tops of your stitches, because that's the good side that we want facing forward. So we had, remember, 4 rows to the head, so there should be about 4 slip stitches It's not an exact science, you guys. Just look for a nice sized hole and pull through for a slip stitch. If you can't get into a hole, get under one loop of one of the stitches and just work your way up. If you get 3 or 4, that's pretty good. You just want to have it towards the edge of the project so that it gives that nice edging effect. So it's not an exact science, like I said. If you don't have exactly the same number of rows, slip stitches as you did rows, that is just fine. But just do your best, work your way up and down the ears, working your way all around into the tops of those half double crochets. You could go into the back loops of those, but there really is no back loop to go into to the sides of these stitches. So just work your way all the way around and I'll meet you back at the end. All right, so I've made my way around the whole outside edge of the bunny. I'm back where I started, and if you can kind of get under both of those loops of the first stitch that you kind of started in and slip stitch it to it. Chain 1, and you can fasten off, and then you can weave in this end. But what I want to do next is show you how to do the pom-pom. Now, if you watched my video on the holiday hat ornament, it's the same way we did the pom-pom for that. We're going to do it here, but I'll repeat it real quick just for anybody who didn't maybe didn't watch that video. So cut a nice long strand of yarn, and you're going to let that kind of rest between your pointer finger and your middle finger, okay, and just let it kind of hang there. Then you're going to take the color that you want your tail to be, and you're going to wrap it around your fingers 35 times. And try to keep it kind of in a pile towards the front of your finger and wrap it around 35 times. Be careful not to cut off circulation, as I said before. And once you've got 35 wraps around, meet me back and I will show you how to continue on with the pom-pom. All right, so I've wrapped my yarn around 35 times. I'm just going to cut the medium-sized tail. And I'm going to take those long strands that I had down in my fingers. I'm going to kind of pull them up into the middle section of that bunch of yarn. And with one hand, it's kind of hard. You're going to tie this other string into a knot. Let's try that again. If you've got a partner around, you can ask for help. But that's how you're going to do it, and kind of get it tight. And then you can wiggle these off of your fingers, kind of set it on the table. You want this to be in the center of that pile of yarn, and you're going to pull tight. This is going to hold it together. So pull it as tight as you can, and then do a second knot to double knot it and keeping it together. Okay? Hold those 2 long strands, because that's going to be how we attach it to your bunny. And you're going to take your scissors, and you've got 2 tunnels of stitches. So you're going to go into those tunnels of not stitches, but loops, and you're just going to cut them and free them up so that they can become the tail of your bunny. Be sure not to cut the strand that's holding them together, so don't go too far into it. Just go along the outside edge and give those a trim, a cut. If you missed any, you can go back and get them. Just a couple there. And then what you're going to do, you don't want to cut these, keep them in your hand, is really fuzz it up, fluff it up. My friend Sherry told me you can even take a light brush to them to kind of give it a real fuzzy effect. But you're going to fuzz it up, you're going to give it a trim. Remember, you can't bring it back, so do it real little bits at a time that you're cutting away, but to get kind of neaten up the pom-pom. And what you'll end up with is something that looks like this. Now, there are machines you can use that make really perfect pom-poms if you want to invest in one of those, but this is how I've been doing it. You're going to look to your bunny, and you've got a puff here right at the very bottom that is, I like to use kind of either the middle one or the bottom one. You can see where it fits, but I think I've used that center one here right at the bottom. And I'm going to put 1 strand on either side. So take your hook, come from underneath, and can kind of pull 1 strand through there, and then 1 strand through the other side of the puff. And you can kind of hold it in place and see if that looks right. If it does, flip it over, and you're just going to knot this in place. And I like to do a double knot because we don't want the tail falling off. And then you can either trim these real short, because this is going to be the back of the project, or you can sew them into one of the puffs if you'd like. But that is how you add on the tail of your bunny. Next up, I'm going to show you how to add it onto a garland. It's real quick and easy. All right, so we're going to go ahead and join these onto a garland. The instructions say to make 10 of them. I've just got 2 here to show you today. You want to chain 20 to start with, and then what you're going to do is one of those top half double crochets from the ear, go into some of those stitches, and yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on the hook for a slip stitch. Now the instructions say to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and slip stitch to the next ear. I found that I like the look of it if I added a chain or 2 more, but you can, certainly follow the instructions if you like. But if you find, I found it was making my bunny ears kind of come in a little bit too much. I like them standing out a little bit. So adjust it how you'd like. Then what you're going to do is chain 10. And then you'll bring in your next bunny and go into the top of one of those ear stitches and slip stitch to that ear. And then you'll chain your 5 or 6 or 7 and you'll go to the next ear. So you can fiddle with how many you want in between, but I would try to keep it consistent all the way across and then do the 10 in between each bunny. When you get to the last bunny, you'll chain another 20 so you're equal to what you had at the other side. Now the reason it had you do 20 at the ends is because it wanted you to be able to create a loop. So if you put your needle on your tail, it helps if you left a little bit of a tail, and you're going to go to the 10th chain in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So here's my 10th. And if you just run your needle into one of the loops, and it'll pull it and make a loop like that. So you could hang this, and then all you have to do is kind of come back through some of the stitches and pull it part of the way through, and then put your hook through that little loop you made to knot it. Just like that. And that'll keep that loop in place. So that's how you can hang it if you so choose. Okay, so that is how you make our bunny garland. Have fun playing around with the colors, you guys. You can see I used a multicolored tail for this one, just as a little accent piece. So now you're ready to hop into your spring celebrations with this festive garland. They would also make a cute decoration for baby showers if you wanted to consider using it for something else. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. You can check out more videos like it on Volusia Library's YouTube channel. I want to thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.